Jesus, okay. Look, a quick note before this video starts. Please be aware that my personal opinion on an episode of a children's show does not mean that I hate marginalised groups, or that I'm holding on to nostalgia, or that I think Ncuti Gatwa should be fired, or that I hate when Doctor Who is anyone other than a straight white man. It's literally just me saying whether or not I like an episode of the show I grew up watching. Cool? Cool. Alright, on to Wishworld, and funnily enough, I actually liked this episode, although I see a lot of you didn't, so I guess it's time for me to be a contrarian again. First things first, if you ask me, this is leagues ahead of last season's penultimate episode. Admittedly, it hits the same beats of essentially being a time waster until it can set up the main villain of the final episode, but it succeeds where last year failed because it also manages to be a story in its own right. Wishworld is its own self-contained story, and you can't deny that. The Legend of Ruby Sunday was basically 45 minutes of people stood around asking what the finale is going to be. Wishworld is a really interesting Stepford Wives-inspired story about Conrad's ideal civilization, with a sinister plot from the Rani hidden beneath. And the story is basically concluded in the end by the cliffhanger that sets up the next episode. Sure, there are loose ends, but that's hardly a complaint given that this is a two-parter. We'll just have to wait and see what the reality war does with said loose ends. The main setting and premise for this story is really interesting though. As I said, it feels very inspired by The Stepford Wives, a cult classic that I highly recommend you go and watch, and with that comes elements from The Truman Show and Don't Worry Darling, the latter of which feels like it also may have been a big inspiration for the episode. Spoilers for Don't Worry Darling, but I don't really recommend you watch that movie anyway, so don't worry too much. The reveal at the end is that it's a fabricated world created by a bunch of men who want to go back to the quote-unquote good old days, where women were subservient housewives and men were important because they went to work and provided for the family. And it feels like that's exactly the route RTD has gone here. It's a tried and tested formula that's worked in many pieces of fiction, and it fits very well into Doctor Who, especially now that we're in an age of especially aggressive political discourse. The problem is that the plot is very closely related to Conrad. Yeah, I'm still not a fan. His character feels very incoherent from Lucky Day, and I think that's because not much thought actually went into him beyond misogynistic podcaster. I like his Big Brother-like broadcasts completing the general totalitarian feel of the episode, and that was a nice extension from his podcasts and interviews from Lucky Day, but his motivations confuse me. We're continuing this dislike of disabled people that was hinted at before, sure, but was he ever really that sexist and homophobic? Maybe it's on me for missing that, I'm not sure. Nevertheless, he's created a heteronormative world where man and woman fill the very surface level descriptions of a bygone era, so why is Kate Stewart still the boss of UNIT? Shouldn't this be a world where women aren't allowed to rule anything? And Belinda and her family being allowed into the UK also feels a little odd. Is Conrad's one redeeming trait that he's not racist and anti-immigration? I don't know. I suppose this could be explained when Conrad talks about there being too much to think about at once and that he can't hold everything together, such as the disabled characters breaking away from the brainwashing because Conrad isn't paying attention to them. But I don't know, it feels a little inconsistent with his values since he gets to control everything, but that's just a nitpick. I was also confused as to whether seeds were being planted to make Conrad appear sympathetic, with him being extremely tired and strained from all the thinking he's done. On the one hand, it would be great to develop his character further, or rather, develop his character, but it also feels like a huge step backwards. I don't know, we'll see what the future holds. I was a fan of the foreshadowing to Conrad's inability to keep everything in check though. Him promising nice weather across the entire planet because one time he forgot about South Africa and it flooded was a great detail. Going back to Conrad's Wishworld, I absolutely loved the filmmaking that brought it to life. The Technicolor Wizard of Oz-like palette that coats everything was gorgeous and further played into that Stepford Wives aesthetic. The transitions throughout the episode using Conrad's broadcasts were wonderful too, especially when you hear the word companion stutter 2 or 3 times and then it cuts to Belinda. And also, the set design was marvellous. The Bone Palace looked awesome, especially with those clone type classiforms working away and repeating numbers all day. It reminded me of the Harkonnens from Dune or even a monster from a Guillermo del Toro movie. Great stuff! The CGI dinosaur creatures were also pretty cool, and I'm interested to see what role they have to play. Although, I'm assuming they may have been wiped away with London at the end, and it'll be chalked up to nothing more than, hey, Conrad likes dinosaurs. Hopefully not, though. But the absolute cherry on top was the slip. Such an awesome visual, especially when you finally see the porcelain mugs phase through the table. Again, it reminded me of Don't Worry Darling, with the hollow eggshells being proof of a faulty simulation. Here, the mugs are proof of a faulty wish, breaking the barriers of space to show a world being held together by tape and a literal wish that beautifully unravels in the end. The build-up to doubt causing the disruptions to the world was excellent too. The pieces were there from the beginning, we just needed to see the whole picture to really understand what was going on. It was a lovely bit of visual storytelling with a really effective motif at the centre. Also, the line, "tables don't do that," was a really, really effective one when spoken aloud in the episode. Shit, that sent shivers down my spine. And it was actually a really pleasant surprise to see Rogue again. I actually didn't see that coming. Even if the hell dimension he's in looks like shit. I also have issue with him saying "I love you" despite only knowing the Doctor for like one night. But, you know, whatever, it was a nice and surprising cameo all the same. I also thought that Ncuti Gatwa and Varda Sethu were firing from all cylinders this week, and Ncuti was fabulous as John Smith, and dare I say, I think it's a role he suits better than the Doctor. I really felt the weight of someone trying to remember who they are, and it was a good contrast to the last time the Doctor was tricked into being John Smith, where he did everything he could to forget he ever was the Doctor. And Varda just killed it. Her confusion throughout was nail-biting to watch, as she always looks on the brink of panic or realization, either one dangerous in this world, and her outburst as she ran into the woods was truly brilliant. She must have been holding that in for quite a while. While on the topic of the Doctor and his companion, this week we see Ruby again. Yay. Okay, you all know that I'm not a big fan of Ruby, and she was definitely as flat and characterless as usual. Even repeating the now tired trope of Carla going all moody and hating her in an alternate reality. I swear that woman has like 2 fucking settings. It was nice to see a little payoff to 73 yards at least. It helps the episode stand higher than it does on its own 2 legs for sure. And I liked her scenes with the disabled crew. Oh, no, that's a bad name. The Dispossessed? Is that who they are, Russell? Although, I'm very confused how Shirley got that unit iPad and its accompanying tripod. This other woman says they're relics from the other world, so will we get to see any potential other relics that come back to save the day next week? I hope so, otherwise it's just a bit cheap, really. Okay, at last, let's talk about the Rani. Firstly, Archie Panjabi is excellent and brings an incredible charisma to the character. She absolutely dominates the screen every time she appears, and has amazing chemistry with everyone she interacts with. I'm also a huge fan of her sonic screwdriver, even if it does fill me with sadness that the Doctor gets stuck with the fucking TV remote from Click, and the Rani gets this cool ass design. A decision that makes less sense when you realise that Russell changed the screwdriver design so it didn't resemble a gun because he didn't want the Doctor to appear violent. And then in the last episode, he has the Doctor... Okay, sorry, I'll leave it be. I'll leave it be. Okay, amazing screen presence aside, I can't help but think that the Rani may be too closely resembling the Master in this episode. The whole spiel about the Rani wanting to be the Doctor's friend and initiating a small dance number with a disco ball as she reveals her plan. Oh, now where have I seen that before? Now, I can't comment on this too much because I haven't actually seen The Mark of the Rani or Time in the Rani since I was very young. But I remember the Rani being very cold, scientific, and kind of just plain evil, as opposed to the Master who always had this friends to enemies type rapport with the Doctor. I also don't understand Mrs. Flood's character because of this. I know they bi-generated, but it's like they're split personalities or something. The Rani would never be this subservient, not even to herself, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but this feels very out of character. I also hope it gets touched on just how the Rani survived the Chibnall era. I know I barely did. Rather than just pulling a, somehow the Rani returned. And for the final member of the Unholy Trinity, Desiderum. The God of Wishes. Oh boy, it was weird hearing that baby deliver the palindrome. On a real, I'm not sure how I feel about this. I guess I'm impartial, although the opening scene does have me intrigued, especially with the baby representing 777. I tried researching this and I'm still unsure. The biggest potential references I can find are that Noah's father, Lamech, lived to be 777. Or that 777 is supposed to be a lucky number, which may fit into the general theme I see appearing. Conrad's first episode is called Lucky Day, and there are a few mentions of luck in this episode. Or maybe, just maybe, it's to signal the real Pantheon's reveal. The Pixies. After all, if the devil is 6... Okay, jokes aside, I'm looking forward to seeing this whole 777 thing pay off. Fucking hell, how many times am I going to say that? And how exactly did the Rani get these witch powers? She turned children into ducks, for Christ's sake. It would have been funnier if they were frogs, but still, this was a brilliantly dark comic moment. If only the father actually had some emotion in this scene. Seriously, he sees his wife get evaporated, children transform into ducks, and he just stands there like a child lost in a supermarket. Speaking of mysterious children, what is the deal with Poppy? I don't know, but it's a mystery that honestly came from nowhere and is suddenly shaping up to be very important. I hope she's just a part of the Rani's experiments, maybe to create a new line of Time Lords using a certain someone's prior history of creating Time Lords. But the Doctor confidently stated that she is actually his child. In which case, I'm fucking begging you, Russell, do not make her Susan's mother. Please, please, please. I know you dropped that line last season about the Time Lords having children out of order. I know you probably want to follow that up, but please, please, please don't. Okay, and one final note. The certain someone who was revealed at the end of the episode, Omega. Now, this I didn't see coming. I really should have guessed it because all the signs are there, especially the one about the underworld or the antimatter universe. But yeah, I'm honestly floored. I just hope that Russell doesn't fuck this one up like he did Sutekh. Give Omega the power he deserves. Give him his original cool as fuck design and don't drag him through the time vortex on a lead. I think that about covers it. Oh, and it was interesting to hear audio from a Big Finish drama be used for Omega's voice here. Maybe that means Russell will start respecting the audio dramas and maybe not overwrite Susan's brilliant return in the 8th Doctor adventures? Especially since Moffat canonised it in 2013. Yeah, wishful thinking, I know. Oh, and the effects at the end looked fucking stunning. I hope this is just a taste of the spectacle we get to see next week. Overall, yeah, Wishworld was pretty good. Nothing amazing or groundbreaking, but it genuinely really surprised me. Maybe the bar is just so low for me at this point that anything can raise it, or maybe, just maybe, Russell is actually cooking for this finale. I really fucking hope so. I can't take another Empire of Death. I give Wishworld a 7 out of 10. Thank you all for watching, I hope you enjoyed the video. What did you guys think about the episode and are you excited for the finale? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to see my previous reviews for Doctor Who, click the playlist on the left, and if you want to see some other cool stuff from the channel, click the link on the right. As always, I have been your host Mr. Greaves, and until the next time, take care of yourselves guys, goodbye for now.